Hi everybody, Eric Alexander at Tekton Design here, and I'm on a topic that I'm pretty excited about. So on December 8th, 2023, Tech Week writer Alexei Mikhailov wrote an article titled 50 Best Vintage Speakers That Give Odds to Modern Systems. And my 2 cents, it's how hi-fi and audiophile loudspeakers lost their mojo. And I mean that, hold me to it. So with the exception of some vintage designs that are still available today and some just more rare speakers that cost as much money as cars and houses, and there might be a few do-it-yourselfers that are not producing in large numbers, loudspeakers lost their mojo. Now, how would I dare say something like that? The evidence is in that review. 50 of those loudspeakers, out of the 50, 35 had 12-inch woofers, 15-inch woofers, 18-inch woofers, and the King Kahona 30-inch Electro Voice from 1963. So that was a very long time ago. It gets even better. 25 of the 50 vintage loudspeakers that have odds with speakers built today, 25 of the 50 had double 12-inch woofers, which is bigger than a 15, by the way. 15-inch woofers, double 15-inch woofers, 18-inch woofers, and the King Kahona 30-inch Electro Voice. And I'll just say it, houses got bigger and speakers got smaller, and that's the way things have gone. And I think it's not a good direction. I want to tell you about an experience I had, and many of you know this, but not only am I designing loudspeakers, but I'm a lifelong musician. And to further add to that, I'm a drummer. And so I'm used to very live, energetic, real sound. When you sit on top of a drum kit, you're gonna get an experience. So as a drummer and a budding speaker designer, I wanna tell you an experience I had in the 1990s. So in the mid-90s, I was trying my hardest to work and explore the depths of designing loudspeakers and handcrafting loudspeakers, and then I was playing in bands and touring around the local region, and of course along with playing live music came a lot of rehearsing. And I had an experience that I just have held close to me for many decades now, and it goes like this. So one evening I rehearsed with the band, and it was, just think of it as a garage band rehearsal. So we're in a pretty constrained space. We got 5 musicians, and we're rocking out, just going through our repertoire and our song list and getting ready for the next night to play out. And this really happened. I go home, I sit in front of these Focal loudspeakers, and they have a 10-inch woofer and a mid-range and a tweeter. And I thought I had some of the best sounding hi-fi there possibly could be created. And I started listening to music, and I literally had this thought, what in the heck is this? What is this? This has nothing to do, as a representation, this has nothing to do with what I just experienced playing music in the band. There is a chasm, there is a gap a mile wide here. And I had the thought and the spark to go, we got to do something about this. These two do not cross-correlate. Sadly, I believe if we turn the clock way back to the Paul Klipsch and the James Lansing, maybe there was a little more cross-correlation and crosstalk between live music and loudspeakers than there has been in the last 30 years. Today, no, not so much. But back then, and there was. And what's my explanation for that is I just gave you the evidence. 25 of the 50 loudspeakers that would go toe-to-toe with speakers built today have very large woofers. They're lively, they're energetic, they're dynamic. And that makes me really happy, and it gets me excited because that's what Tekton Design stands for. I've said in my marketing, and we're getting ready to introduce this campaign, that look, I can't change this. I'm more than an audiophile. I've been living as more than an audiophile for 30 years. And what does living more than an audiophile mean? I'll say it like this. When I've had to attend a lot of trade shows. Many of you have been to hi-fi shows, and that's a good experience for everybody. But when you go down the hall of it, let's just say it's Exponent, and you're going from room to room. And of course it's audiophiles, so it's quiet. And we go from room to room, and we listen to either audiophile standards, or we listen to some new audiophile obscure thing that everybody seems to ooh and ah over. But like when you're sitting in the seats before Rush comes out on stage, or Bon Jovi, or AC/DC, pick your favorite artist, you're there with 10,000 other people, there's an electricity in the air, there's excitement. And it's all about music and the artist that's doing this. Well, if you walk around a trade show that's an audiophile trade show long enough, you're gonna find a couple of rooms that have excitement, and you can hear it in the hall. And that's being more than an audiophile, in my estimation. I'll give you a good example, and the one that I saw year after year consistently was MBL. So yeah, I'm a fan of MBL. I think their stuff sounds pretty cool. It's really good. And when you walk in the room, typically there's 10 to 15 other people in there, and it's not so loud that it's a flamethrower, but it's loud, and it's just like real music. They're playing it, and it's exciting. Well, that's what this company stands for. That's what we've been doing for the last 17 years. That's what attracts me. And it's being more than an audiophile. It's bigger than being an audiophile. And that's what I'm trying to convey here. And I think we had some of that. Now, where did we go wrong? I think we went wrong in the 80s and in the 90s. And it was the introduction of speakers and this theory of being an audiophile, where we focused a little less on, well, what does music actually sound like? And I mean that with all sincerity. If you had the ability to stand next to the conductor at the orchestra, what are you gonna get? It's gonna be loud, dynamic, energetic, visceral. The hair on your arms is gonna vibrate, your pants are gonna vibrate, everything. And I know, it's just an orchestra. And that's the best place to be. I mean, it's big, it's expansive, it's immersive, it's intense, it's everything else. I'm not talking about hearing damage level, I'm just talking about reality of music. You can't get that from a 5-inch two-way monitor, you can't get that from an 8-inch two-way monitor, you can't get that from a 10-inch floor standard. It just is not possible. You cannot do it. And so, if we look at our Moab here, I have two 12-inch woofers, top and bottom. And by the way, this is audiophile grade. So we've kind of cornered the market on the ability to have speakers have this really fantastic sensitivity, but also be literally audiophile grade. Okay, so what I mean by that is linear frequency response, seamless top to bottom, 30 hertz response all the way up to 30 kilohertz. And then if you do the math, we've got double 12-inch woofers on each side. If you take 4 12-inch woofers and add up their piston in their displacement in cubic inches, we are now to a piston that's 21 inches in diameter. And it sounds good and it sounds right. So anyway, I was just tickled pink when I read that 50 vintage article, 50 vintage loudspeaker article, because there's a really great lesson for audiophiles to learn. I'll take it one step farther. How good does your system? I wouldn't say that your system sounds good or bad. I would say, is your system complete? Can your system do what it really is supposed to do? And I would go out and find a new recording. This is one of the things that rubs a lot of audiophiles wrong. They don't like a lot of pop music, but I'm sorry, I love pop music. There's some pop music that is recorded insanely well. And I'll give you an example. Meghan Trainor, Zed, Go and Knife Party. Okay, there's three recommendations for you. Put that on your stereo. Turn it up, not to house party level. Turn it up. If it doesn't sound exciting, and if it doesn't sound like your room is like wanting to explode, then your system's not finished. It can't be any clearer. You've got something that's lacking, and you should enjoy it. And if you can't, then your system's not finished, or you've got some speakers that are just these cute little timid things that are really great for Nora Jones and Diana Krall with the lights down low. And I guess that's music too. But we get that done. We get that done effortlessly. I mean, just turn it on and barely turn it up, and there you go. We do the same thing. And we get the scale right. It's a tall speaker. I learned from some really good people, and we want to have our scale right. We want to have the height of the soundstage and everything else. So we're doing some things that are really special. And anyway, I hope that was an exciting little episode for you, and we'll talk to you later.